The sun was sinking low over the vast Californian training grounds of Camp Pendleton, its amber glow bathing the desert terrain in quiet intensity. Navy SEAL Jack Rawlins wiped the sweat from his brow and slid his gear into the back of his armored truck. It had been a grueling week, field simulations, close combat drills, and finally a brief window to catch some air. He was alone for the moment. His team had dispersed to grab water or take a knee, and the only company nearby was the base's newest recruit, not a soldier, but a four-legged shadow with eyes like steel and instincts forged in fire. His name was Shadow, a K9 German Shepherd with a record for sniffing out the impossible. But this moment, this stillness, something was off. Shadow's ears twitched. His posture shifted. His nose raised to the air like he'd caught the scent of something wrong. And then, without warning, Shadow bolted. The dog launched into the back of Jack's truck like a bullet. Jack blinked in surprise, barely having time to process the blur of fur and muscle tearing into the canvas-covered gear compartment. Shadow. What the? Then came the growl. Deep. Warning. Primal. Jack approached slowly. Shadow was tugging at something wedged behind a field duffel, a smaller black satchel, one Jack didn't recognize. What is that? Shadow yanked again, teeth locked, pulling the satchel free. When Jack opened it, the world tilted. Inside weren't weapons. Not food. Not comms gear. It was a stack of photographs. Labeled files. Coordinates. A USB drive. And, most chilling of all, a Navy SEAL badge. Not his. And not from his team. The disappearance of SEAL operative Michael Grant had barely made waves outside the walls of naval intelligence. Official reports listed him as missing in action during a covert mission in Syria. But Jack knew Mike. They'd trained together, laughed over beers, bled on the same sand. Something had never sat right. Especially since Mike's widow, Sarah, had whispered something odd at his quiet memorial. They told me they couldn't find his gear, she had said, voice trembling. But Mike always wore his badge, always. How can they not have found it? It wasn't until Shadow pulled that satchel from the back of Jack's truck that he understood, Mike hadn't disappeared. He had been disappeared. Jack reported the discovery to his superior, Commander Lang. But instead of concern or action, Jack was met with an unsettling coldness. Drop it, Rawlins, Lang said flatly. Chain of command will handle it. But Jack couldn't. Not after what Shadow had found. Not after the files he'd seen, the encrypted documents linking Grant to a covert shipment gone wrong and a Navy-connected arms trafficking ring operating under the radar. With Shadow by his side, Jack began to dig deeper. What began as curiosity turned quickly into obsession. Every path led to a wall. Every wall smelled like a cover-up. Shadow became his partner in the truest sense, searching for hidden rooms, uncovering coded messages buried in base archives, and once even dragging out a locked hard case from under a retired transport vehicle that contained blueprints for smuggling routes. But nothing prepared them for what they found next. One night, after returning from an off-grid meet with one of Grant's old contacts, Jack found his room ransacked. Shadow growled low as they entered. The door was ajar. The lights had been cut. A message was scrawled across the mirror in red marker. Stop digging. Or you'll join him. Whoever left it knew Jack was close. Knew Shadow was helping him. Knew they were getting too close to the truth. Jack had a choice, run and stay safe, or press forward and risk everything. He looked down at Shadow, standing guard in front of him, fearless. I guess we're not running, Jack whispered. When things began spiraling out of control, Jack found an unlikely ally, Lieutenant Commander Dana Briggs, from Naval Legal Services. Briggs had long suspected corruption in the logistics chain, but lacked proof. Jack had proof, but needed someone who could read between the legal lines. With Shadow guarding every step of the way, Briggs and Jack put together a timeline. The evidence pointed to a dark trail, missions being used as covers for illegal trades. Some SEALs were killed for refusing to participate. Others, like Grant, vanished without a trace. But there was one final piece missing, a face. A name. Someone at the very top. And they got it, from the USB drive Shadow had found that first day. On it? A recorded voice call between Commander Lang and a known arms broker. Jack's commanding officer was in on it. With Briggs' help, they secured a closed-door meeting with Naval High Command. At first, the brass were skeptical, until Shadow himself provided the final push. During the hearing, Shadow barked furiously and leapt toward Lang's briefcase. Startled, Lang dropped it, and out spilled documents linking him directly to the operations. Lang tried to deny it. Until the room played the call from the USB. He was arrested within the hour. Justice came slowly, but it came. Commander Lang and several others were court-martialed. Jack was commended, quietly. And Michael Grant was posthumously honored as a hero, his name cleared of the lies that tried to bury it. As for Shadow, he didn't just uncover evidence. He uncovered truth. Loyalty. And something deeper, a connection with Jack that transcended orders and missions. The two stayed together, both retired from active duty, but never from seeking justice. Now, they run Justice on Paws, an independent K9-based initiative helping veterans, uncovering corruption, and telling the stories that others are afraid to. If Shadow's bravery and Jack's pursuit of truth inspired you, don't just watch. Be part of the mission. White right pointing backhand index comment below, what would you have done if you found that evidence? Do you believe more military secrets are hidden in plain sight? Bell subscribe to our channel Justice on Paws, where loyalty wears fur, truth runs deep, and no voice is ever too small to fight for justice. Because sometimes, the ones who save us, don't walk on two legs.